Margaret stood at her kitchen window watching the morning light filter through the curtains. At 71 years old, her days had become predictable. Tea at 8, crossword puzzles by 9, silence filling every corner of the house that once held so much laughter. The phone rang, startling her from her thoughts. "Margaret, it's Linda from the community center. I know this is unexpected, but we're looking for volunteers at our children's program, just a few mornings a week." "I immediately thought of you." Margaret hesitated. The house still carried memories of her late husband in every photograph, every chair, every quiet evening. Loneliness had become her constant companion, but it was a familiar one. I don't know if I'm the right person for that anymore, Linda. You spent 40 years caring for people, Margaret. Those kids could use someone like you. Just think about it." Something stirred inside her. A whisper that said maybe, just maybe, it was time to step outside these walls. The next morning, Margaret found herself walking through the doors of the Riverside Community Center. Children's laughter echoed through the halls. Linda greeted her warmly and led her to a bright room filled with toys, books, and the beautiful chaos of childhood. "Welcome to our world," Linda smiled. "Don't worry, they're wonderful once you get to know them." But Margaret's attention was drawn to a small figure in the corner. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, sat alone. Her hair hung in tangles around her face. Her clothes looked worn, too big for her tiny frame. She was clutching something against her chest, rocking slightly. "Who is that?" Margaret asked softly. Linda's smile faded a bit. "That's Lily. She's been through a lot. Doesn't talk much, doesn't play with the others. She's like that with everyone." Margaret felt something tighten in her chest. There was something about this child that reminded her of someone, though she couldn't quite place who. Slowly, Margaret walked over and sat down a few feet away from Lily. She didn't speak at first, just sat there, present but not intrusive. The little girl glanced up briefly. Her eyes were dark, deep, older than they should be. "Hello, sweetheart," Margaret said gently. "My name is Margaret. What's yours?" The girl looked away. "That's okay. You don't have to talk if you don't want to." They sat in silence for a few minutes. Margaret noticed the object the girl was holding. It looked like a piece of fabric, old and worn. "That must be very special to you," Margaret said softly. Lily's grip tightened. She whispered something so quiet Margaret almost missed it. "What was that, honey?" Lily looked up, and for just a second their eyes met. And in that brief moment, Margaret saw something that made her blood run cold. Fear. Not the kind of fear that comes from meeting a stranger, but something deeper. Something that lived inside this child every single day. Lily whispered again, barely audible, clutching the fabric tighter. "Uncle." Margaret drove home that afternoon with Lily's face burned into her mind. Those eyes. That fear. She couldn't shake it. At home, the silence felt heavier than usual. She walked past the living room where her grandson Tommy used to play during his visits. He was grown now, living 3 states away with a busy life of his own. The house remembered him in the toys still tucked in the closet, the growth marks on the doorframe she could never bring herself to paint over. She had been needed once, important, essential to someone's life. Now she was just here. That night, Margaret baked chocolate chip cookies, Tommy's favorite. She didn't know why, maybe just to feel useful again. The next morning, she returned to the center carrying a container of fresh cookies. The children swarmed her immediately, laughing and reaching. But Lily remained in her corner, motionless, watching. Margaret smiled at the others, handed out cookies, then quietly walked over and sat beside Lily again. "I made these this morning," Margaret said, opening the container. "Would you like one?" Lily's eyes fixed on the cookies, not with excitement, but with hunger. Deep, desperate hunger. She didn't reach for one. She didn't ask. She just stared. "Here, sweetie, take as many as you'd like." Lily's small hand shot out and grabbed a cookie. She shoved it into her mouth, barely chewing before swallowing. Then another, then another. She ate like someone who didn't know when food would come again. Margaret's heart broke watching her. "When did you last eat, honey?" Lily didn't answer. Crumbs stuck to her lips. Her fingers were dirty, nails ragged. Her hair looked like it hadn't been brushed in days. Margaret reached out gently, just wanting to touch the child's shoulder in comfort. The reaction was immediate. Lily flinched violently, jerking away. The piece of fabric she'd been holding fell to the floor. The other children nearby laughed. "She always has that gross thing," one boy said. "It smells weird," another added. Lily's face crumpled. Silent tears streamed down her cheeks as she scrambled to pick up the fabric, a diaper. Old, stained, yellowed with age. Margaret quickly shooed the other children away. "That's enough, go play." She knelt down slowly, her knees protesting. "It's okay, sweetheart. It's okay." Lily clutched the diaper to her face like a security blanket, sobbing without sound. Margaret's instinct took over. She gently pulled the child into her arms. Lily's whole body trembled. As Margaret held her, she felt the girl's thin arms. That's when she saw them. Bruises. Small purple and yellow marks dotting Lily's pale skin. Margaret's breath caught. "Honey, what happened here? How did you get hurt?" Lily pulled back, eyes wide with something that looked like terror. She pressed the diaper harder against her face and whispered a single word, so quiet it was almost lost. "Uncle." Margaret's hands began to shake. "Your uncle? Did your uncle do this?" But Lily just shook her head frantically, retreating back into herself. She wouldn't say another word. Margaret looked up and saw Linda watching from across the room. Concern etched on her face. Something was very, very wrong in this child's life, and Margaret wouldn't turn away. Margaret couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Lily's bruises, heard that whispered word, "Uncle." She had worked as a caregiver for 4 decades. She knew the signs, but she also knew the danger of jumping to conclusions. Still, something in her gut screamed that this child needed help. The next morning, Margaret arrived at the center early. She watched as parents and guardians dropped off their children. Laughter, hugs, kisses goodbye. Normal morning routines. Lily arrived first, before any other child. A thin man with hunched shoulders walked her to the door, handed her off to Linda without a word, and left immediately. Margaret assumed that was the uncle. Throughout the week, Margaret observed everything. Lily always arrived early and was always the last to be picked up. As pickup time approached each day, the little girl would become visibly anxious. Her breathing would quicken. Her hands would shake. Sometimes she would cry softly, trying to hide it. "Linda," Margaret said one afternoon, "can you tell me about Lily's situation, her family?" Linda sighed, glancing at the little girl coloring alone in the corner. "It's tragic, really. Her parents died in a car accident about a year ago. She lives with her uncle now, her mother's brother. His name is Derek. He has legal custody." "What's he like?" Linda shrugged. "Quiet. Keeps to himself. A bit odd, honestly. Never comes to any of our family events. Never talks to the other parents. But he's never caused any problems, and the child is always here on time." Margaret's concern deepened. "Has anyone checked on the home situation?" "Social services has been out there a couple of times. Nothing ever came of it." Over the following days, Margaret noticed more troubling details. Lily wore the same clothes 3, sometimes 4 days in a row. She ate like every meal might be her last, and she flinched whenever adult men came near her. Fathers picking up their kids, the janitor, even the friendly mailman. One afternoon, Margaret gently tried to brush Lily's tangled hair. The girl went rigid, but didn't pull away. As Margaret worked through the knots as carefully as possible, she saw more bruises. Some fresh, some fading to green and yellow. "Lily, sweetheart, I need you to tell me the truth. Did someone hurt you?" Lily's lower lip trembled. She clutched her diaper tighter. "It's okay. You're safe here. You can tell me." The little girl's voice was barely a whisper. Uncle shows me things." Margaret's blood turned to ice. "What things, honey? What does he show you?" But Lily suddenly clapped both hands over her mouth, eyes wide with fear, as if she'd said something forbidden. She shook her head violently and wouldn't say another word. Margaret felt panic rising in her chest. She looked at Linda across the room, who was watching with growing alarm. That night, Margaret lay awake staring at the ceiling. Every instinct she had developed over a lifetime of caring for people was screaming at her. This child was in danger, and if Margaret didn't do something, who would? Margaret barely slept. Lily's words echoed in her mind. "Uncle shows me things." I mean, what did that mean? What was happening in that house? She spent the morning researching. She called her friend Patricia, who had worked in social services for 30 years before retiring. "Pat, if a child says something like that, what does it usually mean?" Patricia's voice turned serious. "Margaret, are you concerned about a specific child?" "Yes, a little girl at the community center where I volunteer. Have you seen any physical signs? Bruises, neglect. She's terrified of going home." "Then you need to report it. Immediately." "But what if I'm wrong? What if I ruin an innocent person's life?" Patricia was quiet for a moment. "And what if you're right, and you do nothing?" That afternoon, Margaret drove past the address Linda had given her. The house was small, set back from the street. The grass was overgrown, the paint peeling. Heavy curtains covered every window. A figure emerged from the front door. The uncle, Derek. He was thin, maybe mid-30s, with unkempt hair and clothes that hung loosely on his frame. He walked to his car with his shoulders hunched, like he was carrying an invisible weight. Margaret watched him drive away, then sat in her car staring at the house. It looked sad, forgotten, like nobody inside cared about anything anymore. Back at the center, Margaret brought more snacks, more books. She was trying to build trust, to create a safe space where Lily might open up. One day, Lily drew a picture with crayons. Margaret watched as the little girl carefully colored. When she was finished, Lily pushed the paper toward Margaret. The image made Margaret's stomach drop. A dark house, a large shadow figure, a small girl in the corner crying, and in front of the shadow, a bright rectangle like a screen. "Lily, what is this?" The child pointed to the large shadow. "Uncle." Then she pointed to the bright rectangle. "Mommy is there." "Your mommy? In the computer?" Lily nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "He shows me, but I can't touch her. She's inside, always inside." Margaret felt a chill run through her. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "Mommy talks, mommy sings, but she can't come out." Margaret's mind raced. Was Derek showing this child recordings, videos, or was it something worse? "Does your uncle show you anything else?" Lily's face went blank. She pulled back, shutting down completely. "Lily, please, you can tell me." But the little girl just shook her head and whispered, "I'm not supposed to tell. He said never tell." Margaret felt her heart pounding. She had to see this home for herself. She had to know what was happening behind those closed curtains. That evening, Margaret baked a small casserole and gathered some children's clothes she'd bought at a thrift store. She practiced what she would say. The next day, she drove to Derek's house and knocked on the door. After a long pause, it opened. Derek stood there looking surprised and confused. Up close, he looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, pale skin, trembling hands. "Can I help you?" His voice was quiet, uncertain. Margaret smiled warmly. "Hello, I'm Margaret. I volunteer at the community center where Lily goes. I brought some donated clothes and a meal. I hope that's okay." Derek blinked, clearly caught off guard. "Oh, thank you. That's very kind." He stepped aside, letting her in. The inside of the house was dim and cluttered. Dishes were piled in the sink. Laundry overflowed from baskets, but it wasn't filthy, just overwhelmed, like someone was barely keeping their head above water. "I'm sorry about the mess," Derek said quietly, taking the casserole. "I've been trying to keep up, but it's hard." Margaret stepped further inside, her eyes scanning the room. "I understand. You're doing this alone, aren't you?" Derek nodded, his eyes downcast. Since she passed, I never thought I'd be raising a child. I don't really know what I'm doing." There was genuine pain in his voice. Margaret felt a flicker of sympathy. Then she saw Lily. The little girl was sitting on the couch, completely still, staring at a laptop screen. Her face was illuminated by the glow. She looked hypnotized. Margaret moved closer, trying to see what Lily was watching. On the screen was a woman, young, smiling, beautiful. She was singing a lullaby, her voice soft and sweet. The video was paused on her face. Derek noticed Margaret looking and quickly moved to close the laptop. She likes to watch old videos. Of her mom. That's your sister?" "Yeah." His voice cracked. "Lily asks for them all the time." Before Margaret could respond, Lily suddenly cried out from the other room. She must have moved while they were talking. "Uncle, show me, show me." Her voice was desperate, pleading. Derek's face went pale. "I'm sorry, I need to—" He rushed toward the sound of Lily's voice. Margaret stood frozen in the living room. Through the doorway, she could hear the little girl sobbing. "Show me every day, please, Uncle, please." Then came the sound of the video starting again. That woman's voice, Lily's mother, singing. The crying stopped. Margaret's hands trembled. Her mind raced with terrible possibilities. What was happening in this house? Derek returned a moment later, looking exhausted and ashamed. "I'm sorry." She gets upset when she can't see her mother. "The videos are all I have to calm her down." Margaret forced a smile, but inside, alarm bells were ringing. "I should go, but please, if you ever need help." "Thank you," Derek interrupted softly. "Really, thank you for caring." As Margaret walked to her car, she glanced back at the house. In the window, she saw Lily's small silhouette, still staring at that glowing screen. And Margaret knew, deep in her bones, that something in that house was terribly, terribly wrong. Margaret sat in her car outside Derek's house for 10 minutes before she could bring herself to drive away. Her mind was spinning. That phrase, "show me every day." What did it mean? At home, she poured herself tea and tried to think clearly. Derek didn't seem like a monster. He seemed like a broken man, drowning in responsibility he never asked for. But Lily's fear was real. The bruises were real. And that desperate crying, "show me every day," felt wrong in ways Margaret couldn't articulate. She called Patricia again. "I visited the home today," Margaret said. "The uncle seems overwhelmed, not dangerous. But Pat, something still doesn't feel right. Trust your instincts, Margaret. They've never failed you before." "But what if I'm seeing shadows where there's only sadness?" Patricia sighed. "Then you ask more questions, you watch more carefully, and if you see real danger, you act." Over the next 2 weeks, Margaret spent every moment she could with Lily at the center. She brought favorite snacks, read stories, played quietly beside her. Slowly, Lily began to trust her. One afternoon, while coloring together, Lily spoke without prompting. "Uncle forgets to make dinner sometimes." Margaret's heart squeezed. "What do you do when that happens?" "I wait, or I eat crackers if there are any." "Does your uncle ever hurt you, sweetheart?" Lily shook her head quickly. "No, he cries a lot. At night, I hear him." "And the videos? Of your mommy?" Lily's eyes lit up for the first time. "Mommy sings to me. Uncle shows me on the computer. I ask every day, because I miss her. I miss her so much." Tears welled in Margaret's eyes. "I know you do, honey. Uncle says she's still here, in the videos, but I can't touch her, I can't hug her." Margaret pulled Lily close. "Your mommy loved you very much." "I know," Lily whispered. "That's why I keep this." She held up the old diaper. "It's from the last time Mommy changed me. Before the accident, Uncle said I could keep it." Margaret's breath caught. Not a sign of something sinister, but a desperate attempt to hold on to the last physical piece of her mother. Still, the bruises, the neglect, the fear. Something wasn't adding up. Linda approached Margaret later that day. "I need to tell you something. Social services has been here 3 times because of Lily. 3 times. And every time Derek convinces them everything is fine. But it's not fine," Margaret said firmly. "I know, but what can we do? We have no proof of real harm." Margaret looked across the room at Lily, sitting alone, clutching that diaper like a lifeline. "Then I'll find proof," Margaret said quietly. "Because that child deserves better." Margaret decided to try a different approach. If she could spend time with Lily outside the center, maybe she could better understand what was happening. She called Derek and asked if she could take Lily to the park on Saturdays. His response was immediate. "Yes, please, that would be really helpful." He sounded so relieved it almost broke her heart. That first Saturday, Margaret picked up Lily from the house. Derek stood at the door, watching them leave with an expression she couldn't quite read. At the park, something remarkable happened. Lily transformed. She ran. She laughed. She fed the ducks and climbed on the playground equipment with the pure joy of a child who'd forgotten what it felt like to be free. Margaret sat on a bench, watching with tears in her eyes. "Do you like the swings, sweetheart?" "I love them," Lily called back, her hair flying as she pumped her legs. "Mommy used to push me really high." After an hour of play, they got ice cream. Lily ate slowly, savoring every bite. Mommy always got me chocolate, she said softly, with sprinkles. What else do you remember about your mommy? Lily's face brightened. She sang all the time, in the kitchen, in the car. She said singing makes sad feelings smaller. That's beautiful. And she smelled like flowers. Always flowers. Margaret squeezed the little girl's hand. She sounds wonderful. Uncle says I can see her whenever I want. On the computer, but it's not the same. Lily's voice dropped to a whisper. I wish I could hug her again. For the first time, Margaret saw the situation from a different angle. A grieving man trying desperately to keep his niece's mother alive in the only way he could. Videos, memories, digital ghosts. But was that all it was? Over the next few Saturdays, Margaret and Lily grew closer. The little girl began to open up more. She smiled more. The fear seemed to ease. One afternoon, as they walked back to Derek's house, Lily stopped suddenly. Miss Margaret? Yes, honey? I wish you were my grandma. Margaret's eyes filled with tears. She knelt down and hugged Lily tightly. Oh, sweetheart. They stood like that for a long moment. When they reached the house, Derek was watching from the window. He opened the door as they approached. Lily ran up the steps but tripped on the last one, falling hard and scraping her knee. She cried out in pain. Derek rushed forward, but instead of comforting her, he shouted, Why can't you be more careful? I can't handle this. Lily burst into tears, not from the scrape, but from his anger. Margaret immediately scooped the little girl into her arms. It's okay, baby, you're okay. Derek stood frozen, his hands gripping his hair, looking like he was about to fall apart. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry, I can't. He turned and walked back inside, leaving them on the porch. Margaret held Lily close, her heart pounding. Something was breaking in that house, and she was running out of time. 3 days later, Linda called Margaret in a panic. Lily came in this morning with a high fever. She's burning up. I've been trying to reach Derek all day. He's not answering. Margaret's stomach dropped. I'll be right there. When she arrived at the center, Lily was lying on a cot in the small office, shivering under a blanket. Her face was flushed, her eyes glassy. Hey, sweetheart, Margaret whispered, kneeling beside her. Lily's hand reached out weakly. Miss Margaret, I don't feel good. I know, honey. We're going to take care of you. Linda stood in the doorway, phone in hand. Still no answer. Margaret, what do? We take her to urgent care. Now. As Margaret carried Lily to her car, the little girl mumbled deliriously. Mommy, I want to see Mommy. Uncle won't show me anymore. He's too sad. Everything's too sad. Margaret's heart ached. She drove straight to the clinic, where Lily was diagnosed with a severe ear infection that had gone untreated for days. How long has she been sick? The doctor asked. I don't know, Margaret admitted. Her guardian hasn't been responding. The doctor's expression darkened. This should have been caught earlier. She's in a lot of pain. After getting medication, Margaret made a decision. She drove to Derek's house. No one answered her knock, but she could hear something inside. Crying. Not a child's crying, an adult's. She tried the doorknob, it was unlocked. Derek, it's Margaret, I'm coming in. The house was in complete chaos. Spoiled food on the counters, clothes everywhere, empty medication bottles scattered across the coffee table. And in the corner, curled up on the floor, was Derek. He was sobbing, rocking back and forth, his laptop open in front of him. Derek? He didn't look up. I can't do this anymore. I can't. She needs her mother. I'm not enough. I was never enough. Margaret moved closer. On the laptop screen, she saw dozens of video files, all labeled with dates, all thumbnails showing the same woman, Lily's mother. She asks every single day, Derek whispered, every day to see her mom, and I show her, because it's all I have to give. But it's not enough. Nothing I do is enough. Margaret's hands trembled. Derek, Lily is very sick. She needed medical attention. I know, he choked out. I know, but I couldn't. I can't think straight anymore. I can't remember things. I can't do anything right. He looked up at her with hollow, broken eyes. I'm failing her, just like I failed my sister. Margaret felt her throat tighten. This wasn't evil. This was collapse. Complete and total collapse. But Lily was suffering because of it. Margaret pulled out her phone. Her hand shook as she dialed. What are you doing? Derek asked weakly. I'm calling for help, Margaret said. tears streaming down her face. For both of you. Derek didn't resist. He didn't argue. He just sat there on the floor, staring at nothing. When the operator answered, Margaret's voice was steady despite her tears. I need social services and possibly emergency services. There's a child who needs immediate intervention, and an adult who I believe is in crisis. She gave the address and stayed on the line. Derek finally spoke, his voice barely audible. I wanted to do right by her. I promised my sister. On her deathbed, I promised. Margaret sat down beside him. I know you did. But I can't sleep. I can't think. I forget to buy groceries. I forget what day it is. And Lily, she just wants her mom. Every single day she asks. And all I can do is show her these videos over and over, because it's the only thing that stops her crying. He gestured to the laptop. These are all I have left of my sister. Her voice, her smile. And now they're all Lily has too. But it's not enough. It's never enough. Margaret looked at the screen. Video after video. A young mother playing with her baby, singing lullabies, reading bedtime stories, moments of pure love, frozen in time. You were trying to keep her mother alive for her, Margaret said softly. But I'm dying in the process, Derek whispered, and I'm taking Lily down with me. Within 20 minutes, a social worker arrived with 2 police officers. Margaret recognized the social worker, Karen, a woman in her 50s with kind but tired eyes. Karen assessed the situation quickly. She'd been here before. She'd seen Derek hold it together just enough to pass inspection, but not this time. Mr. Hayes, Karen said gently, I can see you're struggling. We're going to get you help. But right now, Lily needs to be in a safe environment. I know, Derek said, tears streaming down his face. I know. Karen turned to Margaret. Where is Lily now? At the clinic. She has a severe infection. She needs someone to care for her tonight. Karen made several calls. Arrangements were made. A temporary foster placement, medical follow-up, an evaluation for Derek. Before they left, Derek looked at Margaret with desperate eyes. Will you tell her I'm sorry? Will you tell her I tried? Margaret's voice broke. I will. And Derek, this isn't the end. This is the beginning of getting both of you the help you need. He nodded, but didn't look convinced. As Margaret drove back to the clinic to be with Lily, she couldn't stop shaking. She had just torn a family apart, but she had also saved a child's life. The question that haunted her was simple. Why had it taken so long for anyone to truly see what was happening? Karen arrived at the clinic an hour later. She found Margaret sitting beside Lily, who was finally sleeping peacefully after receiving medication. How is she? Karen asked quietly. Better. The antibiotic is working, but she's been asking for her uncle. Karen sighed and sat down. Margaret, I need you to understand something. I've been to that house 3 times in the past year. 3 times Derek convinced me everything was fine. He was struggling, yes, but managing. Or so I thought. What changed? You, Karen said simply. You saw what I missed, the daily reality, not just a snapshot during a scheduled visit. I should have called sooner. Maybe, or maybe this was exactly when it needed to happen. Karen pulled out a folder. Derek is being evaluated tonight. From what the crisis team told me, he's dealing with severe untreated depression, possible cognitive issues related to traumatic grief. He needs intensive help. And Lily, she'll go to a temporary foster home tonight. We'll monitor her health, get her into counseling, then we'll figure out long-term placement. Margaret felt her chest tighten. She can't just disappear into the system. She won't. I promise you I'll personally oversee her case. When Lily woke up, she was groggy but calmer. She saw Margaret and reached for her hand. Where's Uncle Derek? Margaret chose her words carefully. He's getting some help, sweetheart. He's been very sad for a long time, and now some kind people are helping him feel better. Is it because of me? No, honey. No, this is not your fault. Not even a little bit. Lily's eyes filled with tears. I just wanted to see Mommy. That's all I wanted. Margaret gathered the little girl in her arms. I know, baby, I know. Later that evening, Karen took Lily to a foster home with an experienced couple who specialized in emergency placements. Margaret went along to help with the transition. As they said goodbye on the doorstep, Lily clutched Margaret's hand desperately. Will I see you again? Margaret knelt down, cupping the child's face. Yes, I promise you, I will see you again. Very soon. You promise? I promise. Driving home that night, Margaret made a decision. She wouldn't let Lily become just another case file, another lost child in an overburdened system. The next morning, she called Karen. I want to apply to be Lily's legal guardian. There was a long pause on the other end. Margaret, you're 71 years old. Do you understand what you're taking on? I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Karen's voice softened. Then let's talk about what that looks like. The process was exhausting. Margaret filled out endless forms. She sat through interviews with social workers, psychologists, and case managers. They asked about her health, her finances, her support system. Mrs. Margaret, you're 71. One evaluator said bluntly. Lily is 5. That means you'll be 83 when she graduates high school. Have you thought about that? Every single day, Margaret replied. And I've thought about what happens to her if nobody steps up. I'd rather give her 10 good years than let her spend 18 in uncertainty. They came to her home for inspections. They examined her medical records. They questioned her motivations. Why this child? Karen asked during one session. You could volunteer, be a mentor. Why take on full guardianship? Margaret thought of Lily's eyes that first day at the center. The fear, the loneliness. Because she saw me, really saw me, and I saw her. We both needed someone, and sometimes that's enough. The weeks dragged on. Margaret visited Lily at the foster home every chance she got. The little girl was safe, fed, cared for, but she was fading. The spark that had begun to emerge was dimming again. When can I come stay with you? Lily asked during one visit. I'm working on it, sweetheart, I promise. Uncle Derek used to promise things too, but he couldn't keep them. Margaret's heart broke. I'm not your uncle, honey. When I make a promise, I keep it. Meanwhile, Margaret learned that Derek was in an intensive outpatient program. He'd been diagnosed with major depressive disorder and was showing signs of complicated grief and possible early cognitive decline, likely stress-induced. He would never regain custody. The state had made that clear, but he was getting help. Finally, one afternoon, Karen called. Margaret, can you come to my office? Margaret's hands shook as she drove downtown. This was it, the decision. In Karen's office, a thick folder sat on the desk. Margaret, I've reviewed your application thoroughly. I've consulted with my supervisors, and I've spoken with Lily. What did she say? Karen smiled softly. She said you make her feel safe, that you remember to brush her hair, that you listen when she talks, and that you smell like cookies and kindness. Tears welled in Margaret's eyes. The committee has approved you as a temporary guardian, with a review in 6 months. If things go well, we can discuss permanent guardianship. Margaret couldn't speak. She just nodded, tears streaming down her face. There are conditions, Karen continued. Regular check-ins, mandatory counseling for Lily, medical oversight for both of you. You'll have support but also accountability. I understand. Then congratulations, Margaret. You're about to become a very busy grandmother. 3 days later, Margaret stood in the foster home's living room, holding Lily's small suitcase. The little girl appeared in the doorway, clutching her old diaper and a stuffed rabbit the foster parents had given her. Miss Margaret? Hi, sweetheart. Am I going with you? Yes, honey, you're coming home with me. Lily's face crumpled. She ran forward and threw her arms around Margaret's waist, sobbing. Not from sadness, but from relief. It's okay, Margaret whispered, stroking her hair. You're safe now, you're coming home. As they drove to Margaret's house, Lily was quiet, looking out the window. Will Uncle Derek be mad that I'm with you? No, sweetheart. Your uncle wants you to be happy and safe. That's all he ever wanted. Can I still see him? Margaret glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Someday, when he's better. Would you like that? Lily nodded. I miss him, even though he was sad all the time. It's okay to miss him, honey. You can love people even when they can't take care of you. When they pulled into Margaret's driveway, Lily stared at the small house with its flower boxes and front porch. Is this really where I'm going to live? Yes, this is home now. Lily took Margaret's hand as they walked inside, and for the first time in over a year, the little girl smiled like she meant it. Chapter 12. A Home for Now. The first week was harder than Margaret had imagined. Lily was polite, quiet, almost too well behaved. She ate what she was given. She went to bed when told, but there was a distance in her eyes, like she was waiting for everything to fall apart again. The nightmares started on the third night. Margaret woke to the sound of screaming. She rushed to Lily's room and found the little girl sitting up in bed, sobbing hysterically. "Mommy, Mommy, come back. Please come back." Margaret gathered her into her arms. "Shh, sweetheart. It's okay. You're safe. I saw her. She was right there and then she was gone again." "I know, honey, I know." Lily clung to Margaret like a drowning person clings to a life raft. "I don't want to forget her face. What if I forget what she looks like?" Margaret's throat tightened. "You won't forget. We'll make sure of that." She carried Lily downstairs and made warm milk with honey. They sat on the couch together, wrapped in blankets. "Can I tell you about my husband?" Margaret asked softly. Lily nodded. "His name was George. He died 3 years ago, and for a long time I was so afraid I'd forget things about him. His laugh, the way he hummed when he cooked, the smell of his aftershave. Did you forget? Some things, yes. But the important things? Those stay. Love doesn't disappear just because someone is gone. It changes shape, but it's still there. Uncle Derek showed me videos so I wouldn't forget. That was very kind of him. And you know what? We can do that too. We can look at pictures of your mommy, watch videos, talk about her. She'll always be a part of you, Lily. Always." The little girl was quiet for a moment. "Do you think Mommy would be mad that I'm here? With you instead of Uncle Derek?" Margaret kissed the top of her head. "I think your mommy is grateful you have someone who loves you. That's all any parent wants." Progress came in tiny increments. After 2 weeks, Lily started asking questions. "Can I help make breakfast? Can we plant flowers? Will you read me another story?" Margaret enrolled her in kindergarten at the local elementary school. The teachers were patient and understanding. Lily struggled at first, so used to being invisible that she didn't know how to participate. But slowly she began to raise her hand, to answer questions, to play with other children. Margaret started taking her to weekly therapy sessions with Dr. Paula Chen, a child psychologist who specialized in grief and trauma. "She's doing remarkably well, all things considered," Dr. Chen told Margaret after a month. "But she's still processing a lot. The loss of her parents, the separation from her uncle, the instability. It'll take time." "We have time," Margaret said firmly. One Saturday afternoon, Margaret found Lily standing in front of the hallway closet, holding the old diaper. "Sweetheart, what are you thinking about?" "I don't know if I need this anymore," Lily said quietly, "but I'm scared to let it go." Margaret knelt beside her. "What if we put it somewhere special, somewhere safe, where you can see it whenever you want, but you don't have to carry it everywhere?" Lily considered this. "Like where?" Together they found a small wooden box that had belonged to George. Margaret lined it with soft fabric, and Lily carefully placed the diaper inside. "Can we decorate it?" Lily asked. They spent the afternoon gluing on stickers and painting stars. When they were done, they placed the box on a shelf in Lily's room, right next to a framed photo of Lily's mother that Karen had helped them retrieve from Derek's house. "There," Margaret said. "Your mommy is watching over you, and you can talk to her anytime you want." That night, for the first time, Lily slept through without nightmares. 3 months into the placement, Karen came for her regular check-in. She watched Lily playing in the backyard, laughing as she chased butterflies. "Margaret, I have to say, I had my doubts, but this is exactly what she needed." Margaret smiled, though worry still flickered in her eyes. "What about the 6-month review?" "I'll be recommending permanent guardianship," Karen said. "Unless something changes dramatically, Lily has found her home." Margaret's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. You did this, you both did." That evening, as Margaret tucked Lily into bed, the little girl looked up at her with serious eyes. "Nana, Margaret?" Margaret's heart swelled. It was the first time Lily had called her that. "Yes, sweetheart? I'm happy here." Margaret kissed her forehead. "I'm happy you're here too, my darling girl." As she turned off the light, Lily called out softly, "Nana?" "Yes?" "I love you." Margaret's voice broke. "I love you too, Lily, so very much." 4 months after Lily came to live with her, Margaret received an unexpected phone call. "Mrs. Margaret, This is Derek Hayes. Margaret's breath caught. His voice sounded different, clearer, steadier. Derek, how are you? I'm better. Much better. I'm in a treatment program, therapy, medication, the whole thing. I've been working really hard. There was a pause. I was wondering, I know I don't have any right to ask, but could I see Lily? Just to know she's okay? Margaret's first instinct was to say no, to protect Lily from any potential setback, but she heard something in Derek's voice, not the broken man from that terrible day, but someone fighting to heal. Let me talk to her therapist, Margaret said carefully. And to Lily, I can't promise anything. I understand. Thank you for even considering it. That evening, Margaret sat down with Lily at the kitchen table. Sweetheart, I need to talk to you about something important. Lily looked up from her coloring book, concern crossing her face. Your Uncle Derek called today. He's been getting help, working on feeling better. He asked if he could see you. Lily's crayon froze mid-stroke. She didn't speak for a long moment. Is he still sad? I think he's learning how to handle his sadness better, but I don't know for sure. How would you feel about seeing him? Lily bit her lip. I miss him, but I get scared when I think about the house, about how everything felt wrong. That's completely okay, honey. You don't have to see him if you don't want to. But what if he thinks I don't love him anymore? Margaret pulled Lily into her lap. Love doesn't work that way, sweetheart. You can love someone and still need space from them. You can care about someone and still need to feel safe first. After talking with Dr. E. Chen, they agreed to a supervised visit in a neutral location, a park on a Saturday afternoon. Margaret would be there the entire time. The night before, Lily barely slept. She changed her outfit 3 times in the morning. What if he looks different? She worried. Then we'll see that he's different, but I'll be right there with you. When they arrived at the park, Derek was already waiting on a bench. He stood when he saw them, and Margaret noticed the change immediately. He'd gained some weight. His clothes were clean and pressed. His hair was cut neatly, but most of all, his eyes. They weren't hollow anymore. Lily grabbed Margaret's hand tightly. Derek knelt down, keeping his distance. Hi, Lily. The little girl didn't move. She just stared. I know it's been a while, Derek continued, his voice gentle. And I know things were really hard before I left. That was my fault, not yours. None of it was ever your fault. Lily's lip trembled. You were always crying. I was very, very sad. So sad that I couldn't take care of you the way you deserved. And I'm so sorry for that. Why were you so sad? Derek's eyes glistened. Because I missed your mommy. She was my sister, and she was my best friend. And when she died, I didn't know how to keep going. But that wasn't your job to fix. You were just a little girl who needed someone strong. And I wasn't strong enough. Tears streamed down Lily's face. I missed mommy too. I know you did, sweetheart. I know. Lily took a tentative step forward, then another. Finally, she ran to Derek and threw her arms around his neck. Derek held her carefully, like she was made of glass. He looked at Margaret over Lily's shoulder, mouthing, "Thank you." They spent an hour at the park. Derek pushed Lily on the swings, gently, carefully. They fed the ducks together. He told her about the program he was in, explaining in simple terms that he was learning how to be happy again. Are you going to take me back? Lily asked suddenly. Derek shook his head. No, honey, you're exactly where you need to be. Miss Margaret loves you and takes good care of you. I can see that. But can I still see you sometimes? If you want to. And if Miss Margaret says it's okay. Lily looked at Margaret, who nodded with tears in her eyes. Before they left, Derek gave Lily a gift, a small stuffed bear with brown fur. This is so. You remember that Uncle Derek is always thinking about you. Even when we're not together. Lily hugged the bear tightly. Thank you, Uncle Derek. On the drive home, Lily was quiet, clutching the bear. How do you feel, sweetheart? Margaret asked. I feel good and sad and happy, all at the same time. That makes perfect sense. You can feel lots of things at once. Nana? Yes, honey? Uncle Derek seems better. Like really better. He does, doesn't he? I'm glad. I was worried about him. Margaret glanced in the rearview mirror at this remarkable little girl who'd been through so much and still had room in her heart to worry about others. You have a very big heart, Lily. Over the following months, Derek's visits became regular, twice a month, always supervised at first, then gradually with more freedom. He got a job at the local library, found a small apartment, continued his treatment. He never asked for custody back. He knew his limits now, but he showed up, consistently, lovingly, as an uncle should. One evening after Derek dropped Lily off from a visit to the library, he lingered at Margaret's doorstep. "I don't know how to thank you," he said quietly. "You saved her, and in a way, you saved me too. You gave me a reason to get better." Margaret touched his arm gently. "Derek, there were no villains in this story, just people who were hurting, trying their best in impossible circumstances. The important thing is that we all found our way to help." "I failed her," he said, voice breaking. "And then you got up and tried again. That's not failure, that's courage." As Margaret closed the door that night, she realized something profound. Healing wasn't about erasing the past. It was about building something new from the broken pieces. And somehow, impossibly, they were all doing exactly that. 1 year after Lily came to live with Margaret, the social workers made their recommendation official: permanent guardianship. Margaret held the document in her trembling hands, reading it over and over. Lily was truly hers now. Not temporarily, not conditionally. Hers. That evening, they celebrated with chocolate cake and balloons. Lily wore a paper crown she'd made at school, declaring herself Princess of Forever Home. "What does permanent mean?" Lily asked, licking frosting off her fork. "It means this is your home for as long as you need it. No one can take you away. You belong here." Lily's eyes widened. "Really? Forever and ever? Forever and ever?" The little girl launched herself at Margaret, nearly knocking her over. "Best day ever." Life settled into a beautiful rhythm. Lily thrived in school. Her teacher, Mrs. Richardson, sent home glowing reports. "She's reading above grade level. She's kind to the other children. She's just a joy to have in class." The nightmares became less frequent. Some weeks, they didn't come at all. Lily made friends, real friends. She had play dates and birthday party invitations. She joined a soccer team, though she spent more time picking dandelions than chasing the ball. "I'm not very good at sports," she admitted to Margaret one day. "That's perfectly okay. Not everyone has to be good at everything. What matters is that you try things and have fun." Margaret wasn't without her own challenges. There were days when her arthritis flared up, when climbing the stairs took 3 times as long as it used to. There were moments when she forgot where she'd put her glasses or what day of the week it was, but Lily was patient with her, just as Margaret was patient with Lily. "Nana, your glasses are on your head," Lily would say with a giggle. "What would I do without you?" Margaret would laugh. Derek's visits continued regularly. He'd fully embraced his role as the supportive uncle rather than the overwhelmed guardian. He brought books from the library, taught Lily card games, took her for ice cream. The 3 of them had found an unusual but functional family dynamic. Not traditional, not perfect, but filled with genuine care. One Saturday in early spring, Derek arrived with gardening supplies. "I thought maybe we could plant something," he said. "If that's okay with you, Margaret." "Plant what?" Lily asked, peering into the bags. "Flowers. Your mom loved gardening. She used to say that flowers were proof that beautiful things can grow even in difficult places." Lily's face lit up. "Really?" "Really. She had a whole garden at our house when we were kids. Roses, daisies, sunflowers. But her favorites were always the yellow ones." "Because yellow is happy," Lily exclaimed. Together, the 3 of them spent the afternoon transforming a bare patch of Margaret's backyard into a small garden. They planted marigolds, daffodils, and sunflowers. Lily worked with intense concentration, her small hands patting dirt around each plant. "Grow big and strong," she whispered to each one. Derek showed her how to water them gently. Not too much, not too little. Margaret watched from a lawn chair, her heart full. A year ago, she couldn't have imagined this scene. Derek, healthy and helpful. Lily laughing in the sunshine, all of them together, building something new. "This is Mommy's garden," Lily announced when they finished. "But we made it. All of us. Your mommy would love that," Derek said softly. As summer approached, the garden bloomed spectacularly. Yellow flowers stood tall and bright, visible from the kitchen window. Lily checked on them every morning before school. She drew pictures of them. She brought her friends to see them. My mommy loved yellow flowers, she'd explain proudly. These are for her. Margaret enrolled Lily in a summer art camp. The little girl came home each day covered in paint, bursting with stories about what she'd created. One afternoon, she presented Margaret with a painted canvas. It showed 3 figures, a tall woman with gray hair, a small girl with pigtails, and a younger man. Behind them was a garden full of yellow flowers. Above them, a woman with a gentle smile floated among clouds. That's us, Lily explained, pointing. You, me, Uncle Derek, and that's Mommy watching over us. Margaret's eyes filled with tears. It's beautiful, sweetheart. Miss Paula said it's good to remember that people we love never really leave. They just change where they are. Miss Paula is very wise. That evening, they hung the painting in the living room, right above the fireplace. As the year progressed, Margaret began to notice small changes in herself too. Her house, once so quiet and lonely, was now filled with life. There were toys in the living room, crayon drawings on the refrigerator, children's books stacked on every surface. She'd started sleeping better, eating better. She'd even joined a support group for grandparents raising grandchildren. You look younger, her friend Patricia observed during lunch one day. I feel younger, Margaret admitted. I feel needed, important, like I have a purpose again. That little girl is lucky to have you. I think I'm the lucky one. By Lily's 7th birthday, the transformation was complete. She was confident, joyful, secure. She still had moments of sadness about her parents, still asked questions about them, still kept the decorated box with the diaper on her shelf. But she was also thriving. At her birthday party, surrounded by school friends, Lily blew out her candles and made a wish. Later, when Margaret asked what she'd wished for, Lily smiled secretively. I can't tell you or it won't come true, but it's about our family staying together, all of us. Margaret hugged her tightly. That's my wish too, sweetheart. That night, after all the guests had gone home and Lily was asleep, Margaret sat on the back porch looking at the garden illuminated by moonlight. The yellow flowers swayed gently in the breeze like they were dancing. Margaret thought about the past 2 years, the fear, the uncertainty, the heartbreak, but also the healing, the growth, the unexpected joy. She'd set out to save a child. Instead, they'd saved each other. And in the process, they'd created something neither of them had dared to hope for. A real family, built not from biology or obligation, but from choice, commitment, and love. The garden would bloom again next year, and the year after that, just like they would, together. 3 years had passed since that first day at the community center. 3 years since Margaret had looked into the frightened eyes of a little girl clutching an old diaper and felt her world shift. Now, on a warm Saturday afternoon in late summer, Margaret sat on her front porch in her favorite rocking chair, a blanket across her lap despite the heat. At 74, she felt the years more acutely than before. Her knees ached. Her hands trembled slightly when she held her morning coffee. Some mornings it took longer to remember names or find the right words. But when she looked out at her backyard and saw Lily, now 8 years old, running through the garden chasing butterflies, none of that mattered. Lily had grown. Her hair, now neatly braided, bounced as she ran. She wore a bright yellow dress, her favorite color, and she was laughing with pure, unguarded joy. Nana, look, I caught one. Lily cupped her hands carefully, peering at the butterfly inside. Bring it here, sweetheart. Let's see. Lily bounded up the porch steps, breathless and beaming. She opened her hands just enough for Margaret to peek inside. A monarch butterfly rested on her palm, wings slowly opening and closing. Beautiful, Margaret whispered. Just like you. Should I keep it? What do you think? Lily considered this seriously, then shook her head. I think it wants to fly. Like Mommy. She opened her hands fully, and they watched together as the butterfly lifted into the air, circling once above their heads before disappearing into the blue sky. She's free, Lily said softly, just like Mommy is free now. Margaret pulled Lily onto her lap, something that was getting harder as the girl grew taller, but she managed. You're very wise, you know that? Miss Paula says I'm emotionally intelligent. That's a fancy way of saying I understand feelings. You certainly do. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the garden sway in the breeze. The yellow flowers, now in their 3rd year, were more magnificent than ever. Derek had added new varieties each spring, and the garden had become a neighborhood landmark. People walking by often stopped to admire it. "Nana? Yes, honey? Are you happy?" Margaret looked down at the child in her arms, this miraculous little soul who had somehow become the center of her universe. "I'm happier than I ever thought I'd be again." "Me too," Lily said, snuggling closer. "I love our life." "So do I, sweetheart. So do I." That evening, Derek came for dinner as he did every Sunday. He'd continued his steady progress over the years. He had a full-time job now as the head librarian, his own small house, a stable routine. He'd even started dating someone, a kind woman named Rachel who worked at the community center where this whole journey had begun. "Uncle Derek!" Lily ran to greet him at the door. He scooped her up, spinning her around. "Hey, kiddo, what did you do today?" "Nana and I made cookies, and I caught a butterfly, and I finished my book about the girl who saves the kingdom." "Wow, busy day." They sat down to dinner, pot roast with vegetables from a neighbor's garden. It was simple, warm, and perfect. During the meal, Lily chattered about school, her friends, the art project she was working on. Derek listened attentively, asking questions, genuinely engaged. Margaret watched them with quiet gratitude. This strange patchwork family they'd created was real. It worked. It was filled with love. After dinner, while Derek helped with dishes, Lily pulled out her mother's box from the shelf in her room. She didn't do this as often anymore, but when she needed to feel close to her mom, she knew where to find her. She opened it carefully. The diaper was still there, though she rarely touched it now. But there were new things too. Photos Derek had given her, a pressed flower from the garden, a letter Margaret had helped her write to her mother on her last birthday. "Dear Mommy," it read, "I'm 8 now. I live with Nana Margaret and she loves me so much. Uncle Derek is better and he visits all the time. We planted a garden for you. I think you would like it. I miss you every day, but I'm happy now. I hope you're proud of me. Love, Lily." She traced her mother's face in one of the photos. "Hi, Mommy," she whispered. "I'm okay. We're all okay." She closed the box gently and put it back on the shelf, right next to the stuffed bear from Derek and a framed photo of her and Margaret at the beach last summer. Later that night, after Derek had gone home and Margaret had tucked Lily into bed, the little girl looked up at her with serious eyes. "Nana, what happens when you get too old to take care of me?" Margaret had known this question would come eventually. She sat on the edge of the bed, choosing her words carefully. "Well, sweetheart, I plan to be around for a very long time, but when I can't take care of you anymore, Uncle Derek will, and you'll have your friends, your teachers, people who love you. You'll never be alone again, Lily. Never. Promise? I promise. You know what I've learned? Family isn't just about who you're born to. It's about who shows up, who stays, who loves you even when things are hard, and you have so many people who show up for you." Lily thought about this. "Like you. You showed up?" "Yes, and you showed up for me too. I was so lonely before you came into my life. You saved me just as much as I saved you." "Really? Really, truly?" Lily reached up and hugged her tightly. "I love you, Nana. I love you too, my darling girl, more than all the stars in the sky." After turning out the light, Margaret stood in the doorway for a moment, watching Lily settle into sleep. The little girl was clutching the brown stuffed bear from Derek, her breathing already evening out. On the shelf above, the decorated box sat peacefully next to the photos. The past, honored but no longer haunting. The present, full and beautiful. The future, uncertain but hopeful. Margaret walked slowly to her own room. Her journal, the same one she'd kept for decades, sat on her nightstand. She picked it up, settled into her reading chair, and began to write. "Tonight I'm thinking about all the ways life surprises us. 3 years ago, I answered a phone call that changed everything. I met a little girl who was drowning in grief and fear, being cared for by a man who was drowning himself. Everyone who looked at that situation saw potential danger. They saw warning signs and red flags. And yes, there was neglect. Yes, there was a child suffering. But there was also something else that people missed for so long. Sometimes danger isn't made of monsters or malice. It's made of silence, of exhaustion, of a broken system that expects people to be strong when they have nothing left to give. of mental illness that goes untreated because there's no one there to see it, of grief so heavy it crushes everything beneath it. Derek wasn't a villain. He was a man drowning in pain, trying desperately to keep his niece's mother alive in the only way he knew how, through videos, through memories, through making her visible every single day when Lily asked to see her. He was trying to honor his sister while falling apart himself, and no one noticed. Not until it was almost too late. Lily wasn't just a neglected child. She was a grieving soul, desperately trying to hold on to her mother through an old diaper, the last thing her mother had touched, the last moment of physical connection. She was a little girl asking to see her mommy every day, not because of something sinister, but because she missed her with an ache that 5-year-olds shouldn't have to carry. And me, I was just a lonely old woman who thought her days of being needed were over. I thought love had finished with me when George died. I thought I'd spend my remaining years in this quiet house with only memories for company, but I was wrong. All the love I thought I'd lost. When George passed, when Tommy grew up and moved away, when my purpose seemed to fade, I found it all again. Here, in this house, in this child, in this impossible, beautiful new beginning that somehow became my greatest blessing. We didn't follow the traditional path. Lily didn't get a young mother and father. Derek didn't get to be the guardian he promised his sister he'd be. And I didn't get to retire peacefully into old age. But what we got was each other. We got healing. We got second chances. We got a family built not from biology or obligation, but from choice, from showing up, from loving each other even when, especially when, it was hard. I look at Lily now and I see a thriving, joyful child. I see resilience and strength that shouldn't exist in someone so young, but does. I see a little girl who has learned that love doesn't die. It just transforms. That people can hurt you without meaning to. That healing is possible. That family is what you make it. I look at Derek and I see a man who faced his darkest moment and chose to get better. Who lost custody of the child he loved but gained the strength to be the uncle she deserved, who shows up consistently with love and support, who tends a garden in memory of his sister, who has rebuilt his life one day at a time. And when I look in the mirror, I see someone I barely recognize. Not because I look younger, I don't. My hair is whiter, my face more lined, my hands less steady, but my eyes are alive again. There's purpose there, there's joy. There's tomorrow. Not all stories end perfectly tied with neat bows. There are still hard days. There are still questions without answers. There are still moments when Lily cries for her mother, when Derek struggles with guilt, when I wonder if I'll live long enough to see Lily graduate high school. But we face those moments together, and that makes all the difference. This journey taught me that sometimes the most important thing isn't having all the answers. It's having the courage to ask the right questions, to look deeper, to see beyond the surface, to understand that people are complicated, situations are nuanced, and love, real love, requires both strength and softness. It taught me that doing the right thing doesn't always feel good in the moment. Calling 911 that day was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Watching Lily being taken away from the only family she had left was devastating, but it was necessary. Sometimes love means making the painful choice because it's the right one. It taught me that healing isn't linear. It's messy and complicated and full of setbacks, but it's also possible, even when it seems impossible. Even when you're 71 years old and taking on a 5-year-old. Even when you're a grieving child clutching an old diaper. Even when you're a broken man who's lost everything. Most of all, it taught me that love is the most powerful force we have. Not romantic love necessarily, not even familial love in the traditional sense, but the kind of love that sees someone suffering and says, I won't look away. The kind that shows up even when it's inconvenient, the kind that stays even when it's hard. That kind of love can rebuild lives. It can create families. It can transform ordinary houses into homes and strangers into the people who matter most. Tomorrow, Lily starts 3rd grade. She's nervous and excited. She's picked out her outfit, yellow of course. She's packed her new backpack with supplies we bought together. She's ready, and so am I. Ready for whatever comes next. The good days and the hard ones, the laughter and the tears, the moments of joy and the moments of doubt, because I'm not alone anymore, and neither is she. We have each other. We have Derek. We have our garden of yellow flowers that blooms every year. We have a home filled with love. And sometimes, often, that's more than enough. That's everything. Margaret closed the journal and set it aside. She walked quietly down the hall and peeked into Lily's room one more time. The little girl was sleeping peacefully, moonlight streaming through the window. On the shelf, the box with the diaper sat next to the photos and the bear, all of it illuminated by soft silver light. Past and present, loss and love, all holding space together. Margaret smiled through tears and whispered into the darkness, "Thank you for all of it. The heartbreak and the healing, the fear and the courage, the ending and the beginning. Thank you for letting me be part of this story, for letting this be where love lives now." She pulled the door almost closed and walked to her own room. Outside in the garden, the yellow flowers swayed gently in the night breeze. And inside, in every room of that small house, love breathed quietly, imperfect, unexpected, absolutely real, and more beautiful than anything Margaret had ever imagined.